All right, my name's John Michael, and I'm going to do my revenue stream uh, activity thing on athletic sports teams. For athletic sports teams, you basically have public schools and then other schools besides public schools. For the first question of what we're supposed to do is identify the income of how we do that. The income for our public schools is usually based on the state budget. They also have little fundraisers and benefits that they put on by themselves. But then you have private schools and other schools, which might mainly get income for their sports teams by fundraisers and little activities that they do, whether it's like a lift-a-thon for the baseball team, basketball team, football team, or whether it's like a little po' boy sale or something. They get money through that mainly. This is Zach that I have right here, and we're basically going to be giving this together. So, what's up, Zach?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. A lot of times too, they have booster clubs and stuff like that with donors that'll donate a lot of money for them too. Uh, Other than that, it's kind of hard for public schools to get money other than their state funding and fundraisers. Private schools seem to have a lot more boosters than public schools do. But,
Yeah, basically like an alumni association.
right, yeah.
Colleges have.
hmm
Secondly, we're going to talk about the factors which are under control by the athletic directors and the managers of the sports team or whatever. We're going to start off with like in the high school athletic department. Basically, they are in charge of the uniforms and stuff, of the concessions that you sell for the games and the prices of them, and then the fundraisers. Basically, the brands of the uniforms make a difference with buying uniforms. I know Nike and Reebok, Under Armour are the most popular. They all have different prices, and then pads or certain equipment that you need, whether it's netting for goals or whichever, that can all be narrowed down to the cheapest and the best that's available for the team or whatever in your area. And then you could basically balance your budget off of that, choosing one over the other, whatever is needed more for that. That's always under their control. And then you have concessions, which you can choose what type of brands of chips you want to sell or what kind of drinks, Pepsi or Coke, whatever is decided on by the athletic department or the head of the sports team. That's basically one great way that you can narrow down the income to be cheaper than the opposing brand or whatever, and then spend money in other areas. Then you could put on fundraisers, which that can range from like a fun little day at the school or whatever where you have activities for people to come participate in, or you could have alumni who have gone there and made it to the big times, whether it's music or athletics or business, and they can go and give speeches, and then you could take in money for tickets to that. Or you can have basically like an alumni club or a booster club that supports your can support your school and donate money and donate. I know like St. Thomas More over here in Lafayette, they have their field was donated to them by one of their alumni, and I think he graduated like 40 or 50 years ago. I'm not 100% sure. That's probably wrong, but I know they have people like that who donate stuff. How about you, where you went to school? Did you have, like, do you know how they got money for those sports teams?
I went to Church Point High, and we had a pretty big booster club that would put on a lot of fundraisers and things like that. And we also sold a lot of things. I think the biggest part is how like proactive your athletic director is. If he wants to put in the work and get nice stuff, then you'll have nice things. And if you have one that just kind of wants to just go to home, then you're not gonna have as nice things. You know, it's how much work the students and the athletes and the parents and the coaches want to put in. That's a huge factor of it.
Yeah, basically, and those are also things you can't really control. You can't really control the parents and
Right. Yeah.
the outside sources of revenue. You just have to basically hope for the best and advertise yourself.
Yeah.
And yeah, that plays. I think that plays a big part in it. Whether the athletic director or the manager of the team is lazy or if they're proactive in finding funding for that team. I feel
Right.
like usually it's the people who are the peppy and obnoxious ones about it that get the most work done,
Right.
as aggravating as it is. I know at
Yeah.
I know public schools, especially in this area. I grew up playing sports and seeing the public schools have all kinds of fundraisers, whether it's outside a church or outside a Walmart or whatever. Kind of like the Girl Scouts with their cookies, except they sell po' boys or they'll sell desserts or
Right.
whatever it is. And you start seeing those things everywhere because that's their main. Schools don't always provide their athletic programs with money for
Right.
that.
They usually self-funded sometimes.
Yeah, put on by the kids and I mean, I guess the kids' parents too. I was never part of a self-funded one, but
Yeah.
I'm sure the parents play a big part in that too.
Hmm. Definitely.
Next, we have the external factors that can't be controlled by the athletic department or the managers of the sports teams. Basically, this could be like attendance to an event. You can't really control how many people show up to a team event. You basically just hope for the best, and you appreciate for sure all the fans that show up because this is a shot in the dark. If nobody really knows about your school, then nobody's really going to show up. You have to build it up or build up a reputation or get students to tell their parents, tell their friends, tell their family to come and check them out.
Right.
I know this is like whenever high schools, especially in this area, have a rivalry against each other. Some of these games sometimes are hundreds and hundreds of people, which is pretty
Hmm.
crazy. And I know at this team, whenever they played Acadiana, they had people sitting in the parking lot watching the game. I know that must have brought in a lot of income for both teams because I know
Right.
that it split it. Every team splits whatever game between the two schools. The money they make from it, I'm pretty sure. And fundraisers, you can't really control the attendance of the fundraisers. That's why you basically have to do all the work and hype up the fundraiser a bunch to attract people to participate in and attract people to come see what it's all about.
Right.
Uh, you also can't control really concessions if it's raining outside and it's crappy weather. It's gonna make people not want to walk in the rain to the concessions if they're just sitting in the
Right.
stand under their umbrellas. And you can't really control whether or not you run out of food if you buy what you think is enough food, but then you get a surplus in attendance to your event and they buy you out of food. Well, then you're basically losing possible money by not having the food, which
Right.
you can't really control. Well, you ran out of food or whatever because they bought you all out. So that's just some of the things. And then you have like supplies breaking, whether it's a football helmet or a cracked shoulder pad or a girdle tearing or if you provide baseball bats to your baseball team, a bat breaking or stuff like that. You can't really control if you have a huge baseball game and it's a huge score and you run out of baseballs. You can't control all these things, so you
Right.
always have to. I guess you have to prepare for the worst and have an extra amount of those, and
Right.
just hope for the best. You
Hmm.
can't. You can usually control like the uniforms because I know most schools use uniforms year after year after year.
Hmm.
I don't know of any schools on the top of my head that don't use the same uniforms after year. And that basically saves a bunch of money because if you're spending $200, $300 on uniforms, you don't want to pay that every single year. You can make that last 5 years and get basically it basically comes out to $60 a year, and you get your money's worth. So whenever you went to school or anything, you played sports.
Yeah, I played football and ran track and played golf a few years, I think. Uh, I don't know. I think the biggest kind of uncontrollable thing is the cost of the equipment. Because I mean,
Yeah.
is that something like jerseys? Maybe you can go Russell instead of Nike or things like that. But when it comes to like football shoulder pads or helmets, you don't really want to short any money on that because you go get the cheaper brand and you start having people injured. So you kind of that's something you can't spare an expense on. So that's like a
Yeah.
huge, and so you can't really control how much you're gonna pay for that. You just gotta come up with the money.
Exactly. I think padding, whether it's baseball, football, any physical sport, is probably the most important thing that you can't really short yourself with money on. I think like you said, Nike or Russell or Adidas or whatever other brands they have. I think that's the part where you look at different brands and look at who can offer you, whether it's a contract or whether it's a one-time
Right.
fee, and then you basically have to play with your money there and see if you can make it last the long haul. Did y'all use the same uniforms every single year?
We got new jerseys and pants like every 4 years. So, but it got to the point where they have it like, because they still do it. It's every 4 years, but the away jerseys and the home jerseys are like on separate years. So like it might be like every 2 years they get a new home, and every 2 years, the next 2 years
Oh,
they get
okay.
a new away. So they actually for a public school, our booster club does a really good job, and um, so they have pretty nice uniforms and actually a few combinations of uniforms. Um, but yeah, but that was all we fundraised and everything for that. So
Oh yeah, that's what kind of fundraiser did y'all do?
we do every year. They had like a hat sale where they'd sell like hats and shirts and things like that. We'd have like our booster club does a huge radio auction. Now, like the money from that will go from like they'll separate it for like different sports. So like football doesn't get like everything from it. Um, what else? We actually used to do a mattress sale. They'd have a lady that would come in and we'd sell like name brand mattresses and stuff at like a cheaper cost. We'd do it in the gym. That was a pretty big fundraiser we do. Just stuff like that throughout the year. But
And is it different for every sport, or does all the fundraisers contribute to
for
sport?
like football was like the mattress sale, and football was the hat shirts and stuff. But a really good powerlifting team, and so they would sell like powerlifting shirts, and they pretty much win state every year. They sell state shirts, things like that. Just each one kind of had their different forms of fundraising.
Okay. Yeah, that was kind of the same in my school. I went to STM over here, and we I know the football team for sure didn't really. We were self-funded, like we had to put on the fundraisers ourselves. Alumni would like donate, but it wasn't any big donations.
Hmm.
It was mainly we had to do a liftathon for football, basically power clean, and then say we power clean 230 or whatever, we'd have to go through our neighborhood or whatever neighborhood and collect $230 and then donate it like that. And then you basically had teams that did like little cookouts or whatever, jambalaya cookouts or gumbo, and then we'd sell like a bowl of gumbo, say $5, and then
Hmm.
I mean, if you sell 100, then that's $500 right there.
Right.
And then
Yeah.
we never really we had like basketball and stuff, and I know they sold shirts and stuff. They had like they sold tickets, I think, to a little tournament that they had for the younger kids at the school, which was cool, getting kids involved in school and stuff. They collected like that, and then I know for track we sold like little po' boys and stuff. We sold little things here and there, so we could basically fund ourselves for new track uniforms and stuff.
Right. Yeah.
Because like if you rip it, you have to buy a
Right.
new
Yeah.
one.
Hmm.
And like most schools, I don't know if they have extras, but not all schools give out extras for free. Sometimes you have to reimburse the school and stuff.
Yeah.
Whether, especially if you somehow break a discus or mess up a javelin or something, or mess up a hurdle. All the physical aspects of that sport you have to basically replace somehow. So that could be a big
Right.
thing in the school's budget, is basically cost of the destruction or whatever. The fourth thing is basically who we're going to interview for the final, and I will be interviewing a football coach that I had in high school, and I plan on going shadow him and work with him over the summer. So this is going to be a good start to that process. His name is Coach Tidwell, and I plan on interviewing him soon. This has been great talking to you, Zach. Thank you for the help, and
Too, man.
thank you, everybody. Hope everybody enjoys it. Thank you.
All right, man.